Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to explore some wild stories of r/no sleep. For those tuning in for the first time, each day I read real stories from Reddit, perfect for decompressing, finding a moment of tranquility, or simply enjoying a quiet break during your studies. Before we dive in, share in the comments where you're tuning in from, and if you're keen on more content of this nature, make sure to hit that subscribe button. So, get comfortable, prepare your favorite snack, and let's begin exploring today's stories. I work night shift 911 in a county that doesn't exist anymore. You can Google it if you want, but you'll just end up on archived news, old court PDFs, and a couple tinfoil blogs that cite the same 3 black and white photos. The place was Dry Creek County, tucked between 2 mountain ranges and a lake the color of chipped dishes. In November 1983, the dam failed. That's the official line. Flood. Catastrophic. Everyone evacuated. Dry Creek was absorbed into the 2 neighboring counties. The map shifted like a shrug and life went on. Except it didn't, because every so often on a night when the storm rolls in, without lightning, when the rain walks rather than falls, my console lights up with calls from area codes that don't route anywhere anymore. Numbers that should give a fast busy, names that don't show up in the CAD system or on the DMV database because the DMV building where those records lived is supposedly 20 feet under silt and cart bones. We log them anyway. We're supposed to log everything. I didn't tell anyone when the first Dry Creek call came in on my shift because I thought it was a prank, a ham radio nut spoofing caller ID, or some LARPers doing a disaster drill. The voice on the other end was a woman with a hammered flat calm. "Dry Creek 911, she said like she was testing me. "We've got a structure fire at 118 S Pine. 2 adults, 1 infant, dog in the yard. The shed's going." "Ma'am," I said, "you've reached Bear Ridge County Dispatch." "No," she said, very gentle. "You've reached us." I did my thing anyway. Double check address, ask about hazards, figure out the nearest hydrant and send bells. Thing is, S Pine doesn't exist in Bear Ridge. The fire map for our side of the ridgeline stops at a cut of logging road. Our hydrants are all stuck to the belly of the highway towns, not planted down dusty streets with names like Pine, Birch, and Chestnut. I kept her on the line. It's the one thing you learn in week 1 that actually matters. Keep them on the line. If the world is going to end, you may as well be there with them, counting the seconds out loud. She told me her name was Nora. The line from her end had that old copper hiss like a cassette recording. She answered every question like she was filling a form inside her head. She refused an evacuation twice and then, very politely, asked me to read her the protocol. "What protocol?" I said. 319, she said, "for when the roads are under." "We don't have a 319. Our protocols jump from 318, wildland interface, to 320, mass casualty." Before I could say as much, the hiss swallowed her, and the call dropped. It didn't show up on the callback list. I wrote it up anyway. I'm not stupid enough to decide what's real or not when I'm not the one who can sign off on the radio log. I wrote it neutral, all boilerplate and timestamps. I didn't share it during end of shift because it didn't throw an incident on our board, and the storm pressure was already making the new guy go white around the ears. That night, right before I went home, I found a sticky note on my monitor that I did not put there. 118 S, Pine burned in 78, it said. Blue ink. A left slant I recognized immediately because our supervisor, Will, writes like he was taught by a nun who still keeps a ruler at hand. Infant survived, dog didn't. Tell you the rest when it's slower. Except Will was on vacation. His calendar was still blocked out with little palm tree emojis because his daughter had convinced him to go to Florida. I checked my call recorder to see who had badged in during the hour between my call and the end of shift. No one. The cameras don't point at our monitors, they point at the door. At 3:17 a.m. per the log, the door didn't open. There's no duct outside my station an adult human can slither through. I called Will. He picked up on the second ring, sleepy and immediately angry that he'd violated his "I won't answer after midnight" promise to his wife. I started to apologize and then told him about the Dry Creek call, about the note. There was a long pause. "Okay," he said, "you can throw that note out. And if you get a call like that again, do not route it. Do not send trucks. Do not send a bolo. Take notes. Keep them on the line. Let it pass. Let it pass? They're echoes, he said. Sometimes they line up. Something about pressure systems, old copper in the ground. If they're old enough, if the right kind of storm sits the right way, you get the pass like it's across the counter again, asking for coffee. There's nothing you can do for them. If there's an infant, the infant's 41, he said. If she made it. He hung up. I stared at the sticky note until the glue dried out and it peeled over, like a mouth that didn't want to say what it had started. It didn't happen again for 3 months. You'd think I'd forget about it. You don't forget about it. You start listening for the calls inside the calls, for the places where the present trails off and leaves a space for something else to speak up. At 2:52 a.m. on a windless September Thursday, my board lit yellow. It's our general emergency line color. Green is admin, red is silent alarm, blue is direct line to the state patrol. Yellow means get your headset on and sit up straight. The ID flashed 605-555-027. That area code is South Dakota. We do get out-of-state tourists who don't know where they are when their internal organs decide to stop cooperating. But the second line of the ID read Dry Creek, HWI, maint. Bear Ridge County 911, I said. What's your emergency? It's coming up the road, a man said, breathless, like he'd been running in place. It's not water. It sounds like water, but it's got a sound like a mouth under it. I wrote down his words as he said them because I've learned that's the only way to keep your brain from translating weird into normal. Name? Tomas. Last name? Savoca. I spelled it 3 different ways and none of them looks right. Location? The mile marker doesn't matter, he said. You don't have the same ones. Just write down the turn. Second turn after the rusted billboard with the smiling corn. Left. There's a blue house with a white door. You're going to want to tell them to go upstairs. It can't go upstairs if you don't give it your name. Who is them? The ones who live, he said, like he was telling me the secret I'd asked for as a kid and then grown up and forgotten. The ones who learn fast. Do you need assistance? He made a sound I haven't heard from a human since. A laugh that wasn't. They didn't teach you the words, he said. We're across each other, but I can hear your dispenser, the one that makes bad coffee. I've been hearing it for 13 years now. I can hear you take your headset off and shake it when you think maybe your ear is ringing. I can hear you drink water and hate the sound of your own throat when it's quiet. I'm not a ghost. I'm just still happening. We're still happening. Tomas, I said, are you safe right now? I put salt under the thresholds, he said. You should write this down. We didn't have anyone tell us and we ended up with too much in our mouths. Write down, salt, upstairs, no names. Don't answer if it knocks when it already knows your name. If it already knows your name, it's just practicing. I wrote it down. I always did. I didn't believe in the way that word means in churches, but I believed like you believe you will get older. A slow, widening certainty that does not ask your permission. Who taught you? I said. He was silent for so long that I thought the call had dropped. Something on an AM station, he said finally. And a girl who worked nights at a gas station and refused to take 20s because her drawer wouldn't settle when the number 8 showed up on cereals. Write this down too. If your dog refuses to go through a doorway, don't make him. He sees the extra thing. The extra thing hates to be noticed. A car went by on my end. You learn to identify vehicles by how the console mics pick up their harmonics. Semi, pickup with a bad muffler, minivan. This was a Crown Vic with a spotlight. It always makes you sit up a little because it could be one of ours. It could be. It could be. Tomas, you're going to get a call in 6 minutes, he said. Quick now, pressed flat by something like gravity. From a boy who says his mum is asleep wrong. She's not yet. Tell him to look in her mouth. If it's there, it'll be the color of wet cardboard. If he says there's a second tongue, hang up. You can't help them. Hang up? It learns through attention. That's not how medical emergencies work, I said, because sometimes you have to plant a flag in something you do know, like your own name, so you don't float off into nothing. We don't hang up. You will, he said, and then quieter like he couldn't help himself. We didn't either. The call dropped. On my board, it didn't register as a drop. It crawled out of the console like a bug made of current and sat on the toe of my shoe. 6 minutes later, my line lit yellow. The caller was a boy with a lisp trying to be brave about it. He gave me an address on a Forest Service road and a mile marker that didn't exist. He said his mother was sleeping wrong. I kept him talking while I sent a deputy to the cross street as a welfare check. It would take 25 minutes at least to get anyone to anything that felt like that address. "Describe your mother," I said. "Is she breathing?" He said, "Her mouth is full of paper." I wanted to ask what color. I didn't. I stayed with him while he went outside. He followed our protocol for infant child in a dangerous scene. He took the dog, he took the baby. He locked the bathroom door and sat in the tub because it was the only place he could think of where there were no closets and no other entrances except the one he could keep his eyes on. He told me the dog's name was Pepper. He told me the baby's name. I didn't write it down. Not because of Tomas, not because I'm superstitious, because I am. A deputy found the family's car abandoned on the service road the next day. The glove box was open. The tire iron had been set down next to the rear wheel, like someone had remembered to defend themselves and then remembered something else. The deputy wrote in his report that he put dog kibble on the ground and watched it tremble. Like the gravel had a heart. We don't have a 319. I started keeping my own. If you do this job long enough, you start to confide in things that don't give advice. The vending machine. The locked cabinet where we used to keep Narcan when it was rarer than it should have been. The air plants the day shift lady sets by the window, even though our window faces a brick wall. I told the air plants about Dry Creek. About the boy. About Tomas. I put little placards by them like you see at an exhibit, so that if anyone asked, I could pretend I was making a weird joke. Salt. Upstairs. No names. Don't answer if it knocks when it already knows your name. If your dog refuses a doorway, let him. The night guy from Records took a photo of them and sent it to me with a single question mark. I told him it was for morale. He replied with a thumbs up and did not ask again, which was the kindest thing he could have done. On Halloween, because it had to be Halloween even though I hate the on the nose of it, the storm came in sideways. The radar called it a warm conveyor belt. It looked like a tongue on the satellite feed. The phones were quiet in the way that makes you want to get up and knock on your own skull to see if you still sound solid. At 3:17 a.m., a yellow lit and then a red. We've never had a red from a non-bank number. Red is silent alarms, jewelers, back doors to pharmacies, bank tellers stepping on a pedal because the new manager has itchy hands. The ID said River Station. It said Dry Creek. I answered the yellow. It was Nora again. The copper hiss was worse, like there was an actual creek running through her line now. "We didn't listen fast enough," she said without preamble. "We made it angry. It didn't put the salt down itself, but it told us where the shaker was. It wanted us to think we fixed it. That's what it does. If it helps, it's only so it can watch you work." "Where are you?" I said. Because if you stop asking the questions you can answer, you turn into something that is better at listening than living. "The second floor of the blue house with the white door," she said, "where he told you to send us. Streets full of water. It's not water. It's got teeth all along it like rain does on windows when it finds the old worm tracks." The red flashed again in the corner of my eye. I kept Nora talking. If I looked away, she would be the hallway light you left on and then forgot about until morning, when you realized you didn't pay that bill after all. "Who is at River Station?" I said. "Do you know who might be? They'll be fine," she said. "It likes the places where people lock themselves in and think they can't be touched. Safe rooms, panic buttons, locks that hang all their weight on a door frame that is in love with rot. Do you have anyone with you?" "My husband," she said. "He's asleep wrong." "Is there a second tongue?" I asked before I could stop myself. "Not yet," she said, "but he's practicing." "Nora, it knows our names," she said. "We had to start calling each other other things because it got excited when we weren't careful. It likes when you're careless. It wants you to cook with oil and then forget the towel over your shoulder is thirsty. It wants the baby to nap in the only room with one window, the one that sticks. It's not..." She broke off. "It's not a flood." "What is it?" She opened her mouth and something spoke that did not need a mouth. It sounded like that moment when you hear your name in a crowd, like every head turning, all that wet attention flipping toward you. I muted my line and answered the red. My hands were shaking so hard I could feel the headset's little bone conduction pads judder against my cheek. Red line, I said, and my voice was very calm because it knew if it panicked I would not want it anymore. Phone your code. Silence. Then a keypad tone, the old kind, the ones that sound like organs. 4 digits that mean nothing to anyone who doesn't sit where I sit. The system recognized them. Go ahead, I said. There's water in the vault, a woman whispered. There shouldn't be water in the vault. It's cold and it smells like when you open a can of green beans. I think it came up out of the floor. It knows my name. What's your name? I asked before I could stop myself, and she laughed like a child. I can't tell you that. Smart like she'd been coached by something older than both of us. How many people are with you? 2, she said. And a man who won't stop praying. Stay where you are, I said. Help's on the way. I didn't send help. Call me a monster. Call me an adherent to cursed protocols. The trucks don't know where to go when the roads don't exist. Not when the map and the land are disagreeing with each other about what happened in 1983. I kept them both on the line, Nora and the woman in the vault. My console showed me 2 rivers I could step into and lose my name in. I stood between them and called out mile markers like a crossing guard. Tell me about the water, I said to Nora. The water is remembering how to be many, she said. Tell me about your door, I said to the woman in the vault. It says my name without trying, she said. Outside, the air plant lady's stupid little plants had curled their leaves tight. The soda machines made that soft crushed ice keening that sounds like someone trying to come up the last step with a laundry basket and a sob. My board threw 2 more yellows I couldn't answer. I watched them die and marked their time of death on a post-it, like a nurse who can't stop being practical. I thought, maybe Thomas is listening to the same storm hit his windows from the other side. I thought, maybe I can flip a switch that bridges us long enough to hand something over besides fear. I pulled the recording from my first Dry Creek call. I played it quietly into my headset mic, while I whispered into the red line. I spoke into 2 worlds at once. You should know something about me. I am not brave, but I am greedy. If there's a chance to be the person in the middle of the miracle, I'll take it, even if it turns out to be a trap with a good angle. Nora paused and then said, That's me. The woman in the vault said, Is there someone else on the line? And then a third voice came on, one that wasn't from my board or my room or my life at all. There you are. I've not felt truly cold since I was a kid and fell through the top crust of a creek and came up with my hair braided in silt. But I got cold then. Don't say my name, I said to both of them. Don't say any names. Little operator, the third voice said. Little hinge, little mouthpiece. I can smell your salt. I looked down. Without knowing I had, I'd poured a ring of table salt around my rolling chair. My fingers were wet and gritty. I don't remember doing it. Good, I said to myself. Good job, scared animal. I have something for you, it said. It's a fact. It's a very tasty fact. Your mother's middle name is... I hung up on both calls. Then I unplugged my board, rebooted the console, logged back in, and brought the lines up one at a time like I was surfacing from a dive and didn't trust my lungs. Both lines were dead. I wrote it up. I always write it up. I titled the incident Unverified Interjurisdiction Echo, because if you're going to do something unsanctioned, you should at least make it sound like paperwork could eat it and excrete it all the way to the state capitol. That's how you hide your sacred inside your bureaucratic. The next day, Will came in with sand in his shoes and a tan he swore was a sunburn. He read my report without looking at me, signed it, and put it in a drawer that we both pretend doesn't exist because it has no official function, and also a sticky label inside it that reads, in a child's handwriting, no names. He said, You didn't send trucks. I said, There aren't trucks. He said, Good. We didn't talk about it again. He started keeping salt packets in the cabinet with the stale pretzels and the little fake cheeses you have to spread with a red plastic blade. We never said why. Maybe you think none of this will matter to you. Maybe you live far away from drowned counties and don't know what capillary action can do to a house left alone for one winter. If you've read this far, it will matter to you. That's how predators work. The last call I'm going to tell you about came last week. It didn't come in yellow, it came in as a voicemail on our admin line. no ID, no origin. Whoever left it knew how to float it like a note in a bottle without letting it get stuck in a net until it got to me. It was a child's voice, but older than the last child, 12, maybe 13, determined to sound like a grown-up in case that's what grown-ups were listening for. "Operator," he said. "Little operator, the lady told me your number." He gave me an address in my county, my real one. It was a campsite by the lake, the one with the cheap firewood and the bathhouse that constantly smells like hot coins. It was a site teenagers favor because it's far enough from the camp host to feel like you can get away with stuff, and close enough to the water to see the lights on the other side and pretend they're in on your jokes. "My dad is asleep wrong," he said. I dropped the phone. I actually dropped it. It clattered off the side of the console and hit the floor, and a screw popped off and rolled under a cabinet I couldn't reach without a vacuum. I fumbled it back up, put him on speaker, threw my headset on, kicked another yellow to the day shift guy, and opened a new incident, hands moving on instinct. I sent an engine and 2 deputies and EMS, and then for good measure I sent the camp host's golf cart, even though I know I can't actually do that. I can try. "Don't use names," I said. He blew out a breath like I told him a test answer. "Okay. Is there a dog?" "Yes." "Take the dog," I said. "Go upstairs." And then stopped because the bathhouse has a ramp, not stairs. "Go to the bathhouse, the women's side, 3rd stool, there's a metal grate in the ceiling." "How do you know that?" "Because I've cleaned blood out of there." "Because I've answered calls from drunk girls who can name every constellation and none of the boys who followed them. And I've sent a deputy to sit on the picnic table nearby and eat a cupcake with rainbow frosting at 2 in the morning while bad decisions turned around and went home." "I don't know that," I said. "I'm guessing." "Go now. Take the dog." He said okay. He said it like I'd told him to go to the store and get milk. He said it like someone tells you to run and you run. I didn't hang up. I listened to him breathe, to the crunch of gravel under a boy who is the oldest he will ever be again. The engine never made it to the site. The deputy got to the turnoff and then called me from a mile straight up the service road that doesn't go straight in real life. She said the trees were duplicated like something had copied a forest and pasted it slightly wrong over itself. "We're getting compass spin," she said, and her voice was steady because she used to be in the Navy and nothing makes her raise her voice except boats with idiots in them. "I'm getting out and walking." "You are not," I said. "I have a dog in my back seat that won't stop crying, and a kid on the line who sounds like he's about to say something that makes my jaw itch," she said, calm still, just informative. "The way you talk to someone who's about to faint. I'm going to go as far as the asphalt line, and then I'm coming back." The boy said, "It's asking for a name. Do not give it one. It says it will take any name, even if it's not mine. Tell it to take yours if it wants one, Nikki," I said. "Tell it to take your name and choke on it." He laughed. It sounded like Tomas had but thinner, a mirror version. "Okay." I heard the dog whine and then stop. I heard the sound of the bathhouse door stutter and then catch. I heard the creak. If it was a creak, remember how to be many. "I put the salt down," he said. "Good," I said. "Wait, listen." "I can hear the drink machine in your building," he said, awed. "I can hear it thinking." And then very softly, "It knows what shirt you're wearing." I looked down. It's October. We all wear hoodies. Mine has our county logo on it and a coffee stain shaped like an unremarkable state. It is the opposite of a secret. I felt the sickness anyway, the proprietary panic of being seen when you've been listening. "Don't give it my name," I said, and then hated myself. The line went quiet. Then the boy said, "It's full of paper." Everything in me wanted to say what color. I bit my tongue and tasted metal and pretzel salt in a wall of heat. "Leave," I said. "It's blocking the door," he said. "Up," I said. Not because there was an up, but because up had worked before. Because up is where you go in flood, in fire, in stories where the bad thing is a ground thing. Up, the grate. There were a series of sounds I could graph if I had to. Stool latch, shoe on steel, scraping, dog nails on tile, a low old man sound from the dog I've never heard a dog make, tearing, breath, breath, breath. "Okay," he said, and his voice was too bright. "Okay, we're up. Hold it." I said, because you say that to people who are bleeding when the bleeding is not done. Hold it. Something knocked on the stool below them. 3 knocks. That childish number. Each one shook the speaker cone of my desk phone. What do I do if it says it knows your name? He said. You tell it my name is Salt, I said. He tried it. He said it more bravely than I would have. There was a sound like the soda machine making crushed ice, like rice poured onto hot metal, like sheets pulled too hard off a bed, like something falling away because it has decided you can have this round. The deputy came back. The engine found itself on the right road again. The camp host, I swear to God, Naomi with the cigarette tucked in her ponytail and a waste pack full of dog treats, showed up with a flashlight that made the lake look like it had a spine. She stood in the doorway of the bathhouse and said a name that was not the boy's and was also not mine. She said it in a way that made the door open without her touching it. The boy came out with the dog over his shoulder like a story we've all told, and would like very much to be true. He was taller on the way out than on the way in. It happens like that sometimes. His father was asleep the whole time in the bed of the truck. We woke him up. He threw up on the gravel. He put his hands on either side of his head like he was trying to feel where the line of his face ended. He thanked me on the phone like I'd done something miraculous. I told him he didn't have to. I told him not to use names. Okay, he said, because people will agree to anything when they are saved and have not yet realized the bill will come due. Okay. Then he said, my name is... I hung up. I have learned. I have learned so much, you would hate me for it. That was last week. 4 days later, I found a sticky note on my monitor. The glue was still wet. It was in Will's left slanted nun hand. Good call, it said. Bathhouse. The grate is new. The county installed it in '92 after vandals got in through the roof. You couldn't have known that, I called Will. He didn't pick up, his wife did. She sounded like she'd been laughing, and then it got stuck and turned into something else. Will's at the dentist, she said. Root canal. I went in early, I checked the door log, the cameras, the motion detection overlay for the hour when someone had put that note on my screen. Nothing. No door, no open, no close. Just a shift in the brightness of the place like a cloud passed over the sun. Maybe you're waiting for me to give you a neat list. A protocol. A new 319 scratched onto the wall behind the console so the next person can live. The truth is the rules keep changing to keep your attention. The truth is the rules are a conversation with something that learns faster than we do. But you asked to be told. You came all this way. So here, printed nice enough to tape by a window with a plant in it, are the ones that feel heavy in my hand right now. Salt under thresholds. Not circles, lines. Circles invite you to step through and forget. Lines make you step over and remember. Upstairs if you can. Not because it can't go upstairs, but because it hates looking up. Don't use names when something else is listening, even if the person in front of you is shaking, like they need you to say theirs to keep them from breaking. If a dog refuses a doorway, let him veto your courage. Your courage is often a trick. If you hear your own appliances from somewhere you shouldn't, you don't. You aren't. Stop and do something small and stupid like drink water and hate the sound your throat makes. It will anchor you. If you help one person, you have to hang up on another. That's not a rule from the other side. That's just resource allocation. It will try to teach you that mercy is arithmetic so that you stop giving it freely. Don't let it. When it tries to tell you your mother's middle name, laugh like a child. It hates not being the first to say a thing. I have salted my chair. I have salted my mouth. I have salted the drawer that is not there. We keep the red line for volts and for the days when we can pretend we're not just mammals in a room. The next storm is coming in from the south. The radar tongue is already forming. If you hear me, don't say my name. I'm just the hinge. OP, update. 1. The drawer and the note I didn't write. I wasn't going to post again. I already feel like I said too much and not enough, and both are the same size where this is concerned. But last night, the day shift lady, the one with the air plants, came in and told me someone had left me a present in the drawer. What drawer? I said. She looked at me with the kindness you reserve for someone you suspect is lying to themselves by mistake. The one with the sticky label. No names. She's never seen it. No one has except me and Will and the guy from Records who pretends to sleep on his lunch break. We opened the drawer. It was full of those little paper salt packets that come with breakfast sandwiches and a single cassette tape with no markings. Cassette. as in the dead technology of a place that has to be wound back up by hand or by a pencil when it throws its innards. We do not have a cassette player. We have digital everything. I took the tape home, which is a sin I will confess to my supervisor, with my 2-week notice if it turns out to be a problem. My neighbor is a ham radio guy. He has every obsolete machine you can imagine, lovingly cleaned and made operational in case the event happens, by which he means the one that knocks out the cloud and leaves us with our pockets full of dumb glass. He didn't ask questions when I asked to borrow a deck. He told me to bring it back if the belt squeaked. I hit play. It's me. It's my voice. I don't remember recording it. It recites the rules above. It adds one more that I didn't write. If you find the third river station light up, answer it with your left hand, not because your left hand is stronger, but because it remembers better. My left hand is the one I salt with when I am not thinking about it. I wrote this rule on a sticky note and put it by the air plants. I have already pulled it down twice because it feels like inviting something to greet me. Will came in late. He touched the cassette tape with 2 fingers like he was checking its temperature. Throw it in the lake, he said. It'll float, I said. He nodded. That's what I'm afraid of. One more thing, there's a new map in the GS folder on our shared drive. It has no file history. It's not in the backups. It's a floodplain diagram labeled Dry Creek, Revision 7. When you zoom in, the water is plotted as a fine cross-hatching that resolves into handwriting if you get close enough. It's names. Not of people, of objects. The map names the ladders. The map names the dairy cases and the living room sofas and the picnic table by Site 14 and the towels hung to dry on the porch that were not dry when they were needed. I went to delete it. I did not. I made a copy and renamed it Specs. I am a coward, or I am making sure I can find it again when I need to know if my own couch is in its mouth. If you hear from Tomas, tell him the kid at the lake made it. Tell him he can make his voice bigger if he wants to. Tell him I put salt under the drawer that isn't there. I'll keep the line open as long as the salt holds.